Greetings and welcome to Growth Hacking Secrets. I'm your host, Mohammed Siddique from Atlanta, Georgia, and the co-author of New Success Secrets available on Amazon. On this episode, we have a special guest, Tom McQueen. Tom is the host of Wisdom for a Crazy World. Yes, let me say it again. Wisdom for a Crazy World. Please join me to give a warm welcome to our guest, Tom McQueen. Tom, welcome.
Pleasure. Hey, pleasure to be here, Mohammed. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who you were surrounded with that inspired you to start this podcast, Wisdom for a Crazy World?
You know, I've had so many life experiences. I grew up in upstate New York, got smart a while ago and moved to the warm weather down here in Florida. And I realized it was a crazy world when I became licensed as a marriage and family therapist. And I had people coming in telling me all their problems, And eventually business people would come in and they would say, wow, you need to come into my business and listen to my issues and help us resolve our problems. So all those ideas put together, compiled Wisdom for a Crazy World.
So what you are sharing on those Wisdom for a Crazy World, just tell us more about this one. I'm so curious, so.
Well, people have many concerns, now they're concerned about the pandemic. How am I going to survive the pandemic? How's my business going to survive the pandemic? What am I going to do with my people that I have to lay off? And everybody's angry with me. And there are so many psychological and emotional and spiritual, as well as economic issues that are troubling people today. And so we kind of use our program as a forum to hopefully encourage them and give them some good advice. And I try to impart some of the wisdom that I gained over the course of my life from the people that I've worked with and the professors that taught me and the people that I've interacted with.
Yeah, no, this is a great appreciate. Is it a call is coming on your side and my side?
No, that's not my call.
Okay, so I'm on your website right now. You say your trusted source for 21st century common sense. Common sense is not common, so.
It's not common. I had a professor. I'll tell you, this is so interesting. The most I ever learned in life, I learned when I was 24 years old from a professor I had in college. And he taught us theology. And he would come in every Friday and he would give a quiz, which had 50 questions on it. And they were each worth 2 points. So they were so easy, everybody usually got 100. Except on this one Friday, he came in before Thanksgiving. And he said, there's 25 questions today, and on the back of the page, there's only one question, and that's worth 50 points. And everybody said, oh, this is not like anything we've ever done before. So we ran through the first page. I looked on the back of the page. Now, remember, this was a class in psychology and theology. This was the question worth 50 points. Write down the first name of the woman who cleans our school. I thought it was a misprint. I'm looking around saying, I don't know the answer to this question. I've seen the woman who cleans our school, but I don't know what her name is. So I just left it blank. Sure enough, after Thanksgiving, he comes back. He hands out the papers. There were about 20 of us in the class. Everybody had a big red F in the center of the paper. So I'm looking around to my classmates saying, I'm wondering what dummy is going to raise their hand and ask, what knowing the first name of the woman who cleans our school has to do with psychology or theology. Nobody did that. So I was the dummy who raised my hand and said, Father Donatus, I said, I don't get it. I go, I got the whole theology, psychology part, but I don't know what knowing the first name of the woman who cleans our school has to do with theology or psychology. That was the wrong question to ask him. He just sat back in his chair, folded his arms, and there was like dead silence for a minute. He looked at me and he looked at the other students and he said, you don't get it. He said, I think I have some pretty smart students in my class here. But he said, if you don't understand the most important principle in life, you will never be successful. And the most important principle in life is this. The most important thing that you can do in your life is to know people, to engage people, and to uplift people. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. It's how I run my business today. It's what I try to do. That unless you engage people and get to know them and try to uplift them, no matter what you do, you will never be successful. And then he also talked about the difference between having a job, a career, and a vocation. He said, anybody can get a job. He said, you can have a job, a career, that's all great. He said, but it's your vocation that matters. It's what you're called to do. And, we can eliminate a lot of the craziness in our world and come up with a lot more wisdom if we followed that simple advice of just knowing people, engaging people, and spending our lives trying to uplift them. And I know that's what you do with your book there and in your business as well.
Oh, wonderful. That's crazy. I learned a lot already. So now I know why you have this wisdom for a crazy world. So you
That's
have
crazy.
a lot of wisdom to share. So Tom, based on your experience of working in a business and author of 10 books you shared, so what are the top 3 missteps to avoid, what not to do when you're running a business?
I think if I compiled all 3 together, this was so interesting. When I moved to Florida and started doing the marriage and family stuff and then got involved with business, we had a tragic incident down here in Pensacola, Florida, where there were bombings in buildings that were related to abortion clinic violence. And the mayor at that time was John Fogg, and he called me up and he said, hey, will you be willing? He said, I know you're working with Gulf Power up here. He said, would you be willing to come up and help us try to resolve this? Because, we're getting nowhere. We're failing. And so when I got there, to answer your question, the reason that people were failing was they were focusing too much on the things. They weren't focusing on the people or the solutions. They had no set, for example, of in their city and in their community of core values. So we spent our entire time there helping them develop a set of core values. And once we got those identified and in place, all those other ancillary issues, and of course this was a severe one with a city devastated by bombings in their community, they were able to put that aside, put their differences aside, and said, okay, what are we going to do now to respect one another, understand one another, and move forward? And it all went back to that advice that Father Donatus gave his class in the seminary. We focused on knowing people, understanding people, and uplifting people. And we don't do that today. So the failures that happen in businesses where their profits are low or their layoffs are high or they have all these issues and problems, they're focusing on things and not people. And once they focus on people and assert themselves and develop a mission that focuses on serving people, that whole concept of servant leadership, then we get somewhere. Then we move forward.
Wonderful. That's the one, focus on the people, not on the things. That's the one mistake people do.
Yes.
And the other two,
and they focus on outcomes. They don't focus on the destination of what it takes to get there. It's like a business, for example. Well, we need to have $1 million in sales by the end of the year. Okay, we're all set now. No, you're not all set now. That's what you're going to do. But how are you going to get there? How are you going to enable your people and serve your people to get you there? They don't focus on that. They don't see the path. They focus too much on the end result or the end goal. They think having a goal is enough when it's really not. Even the people that come to counseling and therapy, I will ask them what their goal is. They say, well, or what's the symptom of, what's your problem in your marriage? They'll say, well, we don't communicate. And I would say, well, that's not the problem. And I say, well, what do you mean that's not the problem? We don't communicate. No, that's only a symptom of the problem. You have to get to the real core in order to solve the problem. And the core may be, you might not respect one another. You may have different directions in life. Those are the real issues you have to tangle or to deal with. And we don't take that approach today. We're very fast. We want to move quickly. We want to get an answer. And we don't take the journey that's necessary to come to a successful outcome.
Yeah, this is good. So, Tom, I'm sure you not always been successful. There's some kind of failure you had in your life. Is that correct?
Pardon me?
You not always has been a successful. Not
Oh,
always
no.
that wise been all the time. So, do you mind sharing one of your single most professional failure? What did you learn, and how did you recover from that?
Oh, absolutely. I think everybody has challenges in life. You grow from the challenges that you have. And when I moved to Florida, my life was focused on being in the ministry. So my failure was to think that I had to stay in that lane that you couldn't minister unless you were an actual ordained minister in the church, for example, that you had to be in that area. And so it was like having blinders on, but everybody has the capacity to minister. So now I have a vocation as a hospice chaplain. I have a vocation as a fire commissioner here in Eastlake, and I have a vocation as a podcast host. And in all those vocations, and as a publisher of a magazine now, in all those vocations, you can bring ministry to each one of those venues. And that's a failure that I didn't understand before. I thought ministry was very singular. And through my faith and through talking to people and through engaging people that I trusted, they helped me to see that I was able to minister in multiple areas and bring good things and God's word to people in many different venues.
No, this is good. This is good. Tom, let's switch the side of the table. Let's get on your some success secrets. Give us your best ones, okay?
I'm going to go back to the. I don't want to be redundant, but having empathy, first of all, is the number one thing that I try to do from a success standpoint. It's often that people will come to our magazine, for example, and we have people that read our magazines that need services, whether it's a physician or an eye doctor or a plumber or a lawyer or whatever. They want to go to people that they can trust and recommend. So when we invite people to be in our magazine and offer their services, the objection that they will often give us is, well, what's the price? Well, we can always deal with that, and that tells me something about them. The issue is not always price. The issue is not always how the length of the sponsorship or whatever. It's, do you have what it takes inside? Do you have the empathy and the understanding and the caring to want to serve the people that need your help? So having that level of empathy, first of all. Secondly, having a level of being willing to understand, what you don't know. No one has a monopoly on right answers or right ways to do things. I don't. So we're always learning. We're always making mistakes. And I used to beat myself up when I made a mistake. I don't do that anymore. I view mistakes as a learning experience. So understanding, empathy, and integrity. To me, those are the three things. Be a person of integrity, be a person of empathy, be a person of understanding, and those new success secrets that you talk about will blossom, because those to me are three essential elements of a successful life and a successful business.
Wonderful. So, Tom, tell us, you mentioned about magazine a few times. So tell us, how big is the magazine circulation and all that good stuff is?
It's really interesting, Mohammed. We have 60 magazines around the country. These are just a couple of them. This is one from here in the Tampa area. This is another one from Green Bay, Wisconsin. And we send them out to 2 million people every month. And we've been doing it since 2015. And speaking of financially, yes, it does cost money to put an ad in the magazine. We've never raised our ad rates in 5 years. And what's so interesting about this, very often people don't understand the difference between putting an ad in a magazine and branding yourself as a business. I know that you do, but many people don't. So they say, oh, you just want to throw an ad in the magazine. No, that's exactly what I don't want to do. I want to brand you as the go-to resource in your particular discipline or profession, so that the people that read my magazines can trust you when they go to you. Oh, then they get it. And our people that read our magazines rely upon our sponsors in a number of different areas. And in addition to the articles that are in there, we have many articles on faith and family and those sorts of things. And actually, in every magazine, there's a family feature. So we pick a family from a local church, put their story in the magazine, and they love that, because they're doing what you're doing. You're sharing someone's story in a venue, and we always learn from one another's stories.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. This is good. I may be able to help to send you someone to recommend a story of someone who was a sixth grader and became a $10 billion guy, owns over 160 miles of beachfront properties in the US and around the world, and 48 businesses. with a sixth
Well,
grade education. That would be a great inspiring story for many.
that would be a great inspiring story for many. And somebody like that is the quality of a person or a business owner that we're trying to get in our magazine.
Mhm. Wonderful, wonderful. So, Tom, we are about to wrap up. How people can support you?
They can support me in two ways. First, I live by this simple poem. It goes like this: God said, "Let's build a better world," and I said, "How? The world's such a cold, dark place, and so complicated now, and I'm so afraid there's nothing I can do." And God, in all His wisdom, said, "Just build a better you." So people can support me by building a better them.
Yeah.
And they can also support me by looking into our magazines, because we have people around the country. As I said, we do 2 million copies of magazine each month in just about every state of the union. We need people in our magazines that our readers can trust. So if you have a business and you want people who are needing your services, look us up, because we need people like you to support our faith communities.
Wonderful. And the starting point to connect with Tom McQueen is tommcqueen.us. If you're just listening, not watching at this moment, let me spell it for you. TOMMCQUEEN.us. Is that right, Tom?
That's correct.
Yeah. Wonderful. And I love you. I want you to subscribe to this Wisdom for a Crazy World. Your trusted source for 21st century common sense is a really good one, and especially our guest is author of 10 books. You like to show one or two books if you have nearby?
Well, I just have those two books that I showed you before. My two favorite are Reflections of a Hospice Chaplain, which
Yeah.
is a collection of stories of people that were dying and life lessons that we can learn from them. And this one is just a series of letters I wrote to my grandson Ethan on how to live a good life.
How to live a good life. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tom. I really appreciate it. I
Muhammad, it was a pleasure.
I like to ask this question to almost every guest to find out how was your guest experience on today's show. What would you say about your today's guest experience on a growth hacking show?
I just loved it. It was a tremendous opportunity to be with someone who has a genuine interest, not only in business, but in people. You're a terrific host, a wonderful person, and I wish you much success and many blessings.
Thank you for your kind words. Really appreciate it. Tom, what would you say as a final word?
I wish many blessings to everyone. We live in difficult times. We have many challenges, but always remember the advice that I got from that priest, which was to know people, to engage people, and to uplift people. You'll always have a very happy and meaningful life.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tom McQueen, the host of Wisdom for Crazy World. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. On the behalf of Growth Hacking Secrets community and our entire team, we really appreciate you. This is Mohammed Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia. Until the next episode, all good wishes.